intentions. I ask Allah Ta'ala to grant us the sincere intentions and the proper comprehension. After talking about the minor and major signs of the approach of the Day of Judgment, we are going to talk today, inshallah, about the Day of Judgment itself. Know, may Allah have mercy upon you, that the Day of Judgment will start when the people will go out of their graves, and it will end when the people of paradise will be settled in paradise and the people of hell will be settled in hell. And the length of the Day of Judgment is 50,000 years, as Allah Ta'ala said in the Quran. But the upright Muslim will not feel that much of time. He will not feel the Day of Judgment as 50,000 years. For him, it will be like the time a person takes to pray a prayer of 2 rak'ahs. Yani a prayer of 2 rak'ahs, how much time does it take with you? This is equivalent to the time that the upright good Muslim will feel on the Day of Judgment as of its length. Yani he won't feel 50,000 years because his heart will be filled with joy and happiness. The Prophet ﷺ was told by one of the companions, he told him, Ya Rasulullah, in a day that is 50,000 years long, it is a very long day. It is a very long day. So the Prophet ﷺ said, I swear by the one who controls my soul, it will be easy on the upright Muslim, on the upright believer, to the point that it will be less than the time he takes to perform an obligatory prayer. Imagine, yani how much does it take with you to perform a prayer of 2 rak'ahs, let's say 2 minutes? So the 50,000 years for the upright Muslim will feel like 2 minutes. And then he يعني يعجل له بالنعيم. شو يعني يعجل له بالنعيم؟ يعني he will be rushed to have more and more joys on the Day of Judgment. And the time in which the Day of Judgment will start, as we said, is unknown to any creation. Only Allah knows when the Day of Judgment will start exactly. And when the Day of Judgment will start, يعني when the angel Israfil will blow for the second time the horn, as-sur, the horn, when he's gonna blow it for the second time, what will happen? Lots of earthquakes will happen on earth. Lots of earthquakes, one earthquake after the other, to the point that the mountains will be destroyed. The mountains will be destroyed, and the trees and every building will be destroyed on the face of the earth. The mountains will be like dust. The mountains, you see, will be like dust. And the only mountain that will be excluded from being destroyed is the mountain of Uhud, which is now in Al-Madinah Al-Munawwara, in the north of Al-Madinah. At the north, شو بتقولوا in ولا at the north? In the north side of Al-Madinah, there is a big mountain, very big mountain, the width of which is 7 kilometers approximately. So this mountain on the Day of Judgment will not be destroyed, will not be like dust. Rather, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will move that mountain to paradise. So the mountain of Uhud on the Day of Judgment will not be destroyed, rather it will be moved to paradise. Because the Prophet ﷺ, one day when he was coming back from a battle with the Muslim army, when he saw from far the mountain of Uhud, he smiled and he said, the Mount of Uhud is a mount that loves us and we love it. Uhud will be in paradise. So Uhud will be in paradise. It won't be destroyed. Also, what will be excluded from being destroyed are all mosques that are built with halal money. Every single mosque that was built with halal money won't be destroyed. Rather, it will be moved as is to paradise. It will be moved as is to paradise. For everything other than the mosques that we talked about and the Mount of Uhud, everything will be destroyed. Every building, every tree, every mountain, everything will be destroyed due to the earthquakes that will come one after the other, when the day of judgment will start. Also, subhanallah, the oceans and the seas will turn to fire. Imagine the Mediterranean Sea, Pacific Ocean, Atlantic Ocean, all oceans, all seas will be turned to fire. It will be fire. And the heavens, the seven heavens will have cracks, and then it will be folded as you fold a letter. هيك بتقول تلف. It will be folded like you fold a letter. How do you fold a letter? They will be rolled. They will be rolled as you roll a letter, and they will be put where? They will be put in paradise. As for the moon will no longer illuminate, and it will be thrown into hell to dispraise and to dispraise those who worshipped it. The sun, the same thing. The sun will lose its light, and it will be thrown into hellfire also to dispraise those who worshipped them. وَالْعِيَاذُ بِاللَّهِ تَعَالَى. And also on the day of judgment, what will happen? What will happen is what the Prophet ﷺ said. He said what means every single one of you will hear the speech of Allah. يعني الله تعالى يكلم العباد. شو يعني؟ يعني every single slave will hear the speech of Allah that doesn't resemble any speech. Every single person, whether Muslim or not Muslim, will hear the speech of Allah that is not a letter, nor a sound, nor a language, and will understand from the speech of Allah the question about his doings since he became accountable, and about what he said since he became accountable, and about what he believed since he got accountable, since he was accountable, since he got accountable. So the Muslim, the believer, the upright Muslim, the pious Muslim will be very happy to hear the speech of Allah. He will be very happy. As for the blasphemer, he will be very sad and very scared, and he will be very worried. He will be very worried and very scared. So on the day of judgment, yes, every single one of us, okay, every single one of us as Muslims, also the non-Muslims will hear the speech of Allah. The speech of Allah is not like my speech. It's not a language, it's not a voice, it's not a letter, it's not a sentence, it's not words, understand? It is a speech that doesn't resemble the speech of the creation. And every single person will understand from the speech of Allah, what did you do? يعني with your body, for example, he will understand the question about his doings. What did you do in your life? What did you say in your life? And what did you believe in your life since you became accountable until you died? Subhanallah. So the pious one will be very happy, and the blasphemer will be very scared, worried, will be very sad. Subhanallah. So the Prophet ﷺ said what means, on the day of judgment, no one will leave his place. No one will leave his place on the day of judgment before being asked for questions. So the those four questions are going to be asked to every one of you. So if you know the question, prepare the answer. Is it clear? The questions are there. Prepare the answers. So the Prophet said, no one will move out. No one will go away from where he is on the day of judgment before he is asked four questions. He will be asked about his age, about his lifetime. How did he spend his life? Yani after being accountable, he lived 40 years. How did you live those 40 years? What did you do in these 40 years? So he will be asked about his umr, Sheikh Tariq. Umr, how do you say it in English? His age, his lifetime. He will be asked about his lifetime. This is one. Second, he will be asked about his body. How did he use his body? How did he use his hand, his eye, his stomach, his sexual organ, his feet, his heart, his ears, his tongue? How did you use them? Allah gave it to you. Allah gave these organs to you. How did you use them? What did you do with your fingers? What did you do with your hand? What did you do with your stomach? What did you do with your foot, with your feet? He will be asked. This is the second question. The third question, he will be asked about his knowledge. His knowledge, it means he will be asked, did you acquire the obligatory knowledge? And if yes, did you implement the knowledge that you acquired? Yani you learned that there are 5 obligatory prayers during a day and a night. Did you implement? Did you pray like you were ordered? Did you perform wudu like you were ordered? So you will be asked about your knowledge. Did you learn the obligatory knowledge? And if yes, did you implement this obligatory knowledge? You will be asked about your knowledge. And the fourth question, he will be asked about his money. From where he got his money and how did he spend his money. And regarding money issues, the only one who will be saved on the day of judgment regarding money issues is the one who brought his money from halal and spent his money in halal. Yani, meaning, if you brought your money from a halal source, but you spend it in a haram source, you won't be saved. And if you brought it from a haram source and you spend it in a halal source, you are not saved. And if you brought it from haram source and you spent it in haram, you won't be saved. The only one who will be saved regarding money issues is the one who brought his money from halal and spent his money in halal. Regarding money issues, we don't have the right أن نتصرف بمال الله. شو يعني نتصرف? To deal, to spend. We don't have the right Islamically to spend the money in any transaction that the law does not approve. Understand? The Prophet ﷺ promised those people who يخوضون في مال الله بلا علم that they will be tortured. يعني the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam promised those people who deal with money, who deal with money not in compliance to the laws of the religion, to be tortured on the day of judgment. Understand? So in money, you cannot use the money, you cannot spend the money except in something that the Islamic law approves. This is why before you enter any transaction, whether it is a partnership or it is rent or selling or buying, you have to ask, what did Allah make halal and what did Allah make haram about it? Can I do that or I cannot do that? Is it clear? Lots of people, they fall into the money issues. يعني they deal with money in a way that Allah Ta'ala doesn't accept. So they won't be saved on the day of judgment. So the person has to ask, this transaction that I want to do, whether it is قد يقال, is it halal for me to buy what they call bitcoins? Is it halal for me to sell them? You have to ask, what is the transaction you want to enter? You want to sell something. You have to ask, did Allah make it permissible or not permissible? And how is the way to do it in a halal way according to Islam? You have to ask. But lots of people, they don't ask about money issues. So those are the 4 questions. Your lifetime, how did you live it? Also your body, how did you use it? Also your knowledge, did you acquire it? Did you implement it? And the money, from where you got it and how did you spend it? You are going to be asked about these 4 things. And here note, barakallah fikum, that the prophets, because Prophet Muhammad said every single person won't leave his place in the day of judgment except after being asked. Who is excluded from those 4 questions? The prophets. The prophets won't be asked those 4 questions. Rather, they will be asked one question, not to make them accountable. It is rather to show their high status. It is not for hisab. It is not... It's not for reckoning. It's not for reckoning. Rather, it is to show their high status. They will be asked one question. هل بلغتم? Did you convey the message? This is what they're gonna be asked. They won't be asked about their money and so on, their life and their body. No. Al-Imam Ali So those are the 4 questions in summary. No. And by the way, in the time of 50,000 years, in those 50,000 years, there is 50 mawqif. There are 50 sections, stations. 50 stations, every station is for 1,000 years, is equivalent to 1,000 years. One of those 50 stations is nobody will speak anything. 1,000 years, يعني one station among those 50 stations, the people will be standing without anything being said. 1,000 years. 1,000 years. Allah said, فَيَوْمَئِذٍ لَا يُسْأَلُ عَنْ ذَنْبِهِ إِنسٌ وَلَا جَانٌ. 1,000 years standing. Allah yarhamuna. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala grant us to die as pious Muslims or having a kind of martyrdom. A kind of martyrdom. Subhanallah. And on the day of judgment, lots of wonders will appear. Lots of wonders will appear. Among the wonders that will appear on the day of judgment is that every single blasphemer will be muted on the day of judgment. يختم على فم الكافر. Sheikh Tariq. يختم على فم الكافر. His mouth, every single blasphemer's mouth will be sealed. Will be sealed. He will not speak. What will speak? His organs. His organs will speak. His stomach will speak. His eyes will speak. His hands will speak. And they will bear witness against him. They will bear witness against him. They will say, God damn him. He used me to do this and that from haram, or this and that from kufr. Wal-'iyadhu billah. His stomach will speak, his sexual organ will speak, his foot will speak, his ear will speak, his heart will speak, his eyes will speak. This is wonders. This is a wonder. This is something normal, you think? Of course it's not normal. This is why we say the day of judgment is Yawmul Ajaib. It is the day of wonders. Because lots of wonders will be shown, will appear. Also, among the wonders that will appear on the day of judgment is that the earth will also bear witness in favor of the person or against him. Is it clear? Like, for example, now where I am sitting now, the earth on the day of judgment, it will be destroyed. But when on the day of judgment, Allah will bring this spot back to bear witness against me or in my favor. It will witness in my favor if I'm doing what I'm doing from the good now for the sake of Allah. It will bear witness in my favor. It will say, he gave a lesson while he was on me. It will bear witness in my favor. If I did something wrong on it, it will bear witness against me. It will say, he did this and that from the haram on me. Subhanallah. So this is something also that is considered among the wonders on the day of judgment. Allah Ta'ala said in the Quran, يَوْمَئِذٍ تُحَدِّثُ أَخْبَارَهَا. About the earth. On the day of judgment, it will say, it will bear witness against or in favor of the slaves. This should push us to do more good wherever we go. Wherever we go, we do something good. We mention the name of Allah, we give a charity, we revise knowledge, we pray, hoping that this area, this place of earth, will bear witness in our favor on the day of judgment. Subhanallah. Also, among the wonders that will appear on the day of judgment is that the gold the person had in this dunya, the gold that the person had in this dunya, and he didn't pay its zakat when its zakat was due, Allah will bring back this gold and it will be heated in hellfire until it becomes very, very hot, and then the person will be burnt with it on his sides. Yani his sides will be burnt with that gold he didn't pay its zakat, and also his jabaha will be burnt by this hot gold and his back. And his back. Is it clear? This is something that is considered a wonder. So I'm going to repeat. Someone had a certain amount of zakat, that a certain amount of gold that zakat was due upon, but he neglected paying its zakat. He didn't want to pay its zakat. Okay, and he died without paying its zakat. And on the day of judgment, Allah doesn't forgive him. So what will happen? This amount of zakat that he didn't pay this amount of gold that he didn't pay its zakat will be brought back on the day of judgment, heated in hell, and then he will be burnt with it. Where? On his forehead, on his sides, and on his back. وَالْعِيَاذُ بِاللَّهِ. The same thing will happen to the one who had a certain amount of cows that zakat was due upon. It means he had 30 cows or more, so he had to pay zakat, fulfilling the conditions of zakat. انتبهنا? So let's say the zakat was due on his cows, but he didn't pay as zakat. He neglected this. So what will happen? On the day of judgment, Allah will bring back those cows that he owned, and then those cows will hit him with their horns. The cows will hit him with their horns. Also, if he had camels on which the zakat was due, يعني, for example, he had 5 camels or more with certain conditions, so the zakat was due on him, but he neglected paying the zakat of his camels. So what will happen? On the day of judgment, Allah will bring back those camels and they will step on him with their hooves, because he didn't pay their zakat in this dunya. So this is something that is ajib, that is wondrous. This is something that is not normal, subhanallah. The day of judgment is full of wonders. Also, the non-Muslim on the day of judgment, for a certain time, he will walk on his face. The kafir on the day of judgment, for a certain time, he will walk on his face. The one who made him walk on his feet in this dunya is the same one who will make him walk on his face on the day of judgment, to show the people on the day of judgment that he is haqir. It means that he is degraded. He has no weight. Yani he's degraded. Understand? He's not important. Allah will make him walk on his face, because the face is the most honorable part of your body, your face. This is why you put your face on the ground when you prostrate to God. So the face is considered to be the most honorable part of your body. So on the day of judgment, when the non-believers will walk on their face for a certain time, this will show that they have no honor. They are degraded. Subhanallah al-Azim. Also on the day of judgment, the sun will come down, and it will be 30-minute walk, يعني far from the heads of the blasphemers on the day of judgment. So the sun will approach the land of assembly. It will approach, يعني what's the proximity? The proximity will be 30 minutes walk. 30 minutes walk is it's not a lot. Now look, where is the sun? Yet sometimes you get burned and you get sick from it. So imagine if it is only 30 minutes walk away from the heads of the blasphemers on the day of judgment, and also the heads of the major sinners among the Muslims. On that day, all major sinners among the Muslims, all the Muslims that are major sinners, will go to ask help from Adam. They will go to Adam and they will say to Adam, Ya Adam, ask Allah to save us from the heat of the sun. So he says, this intercession is not for me. I'm not the one for it. Go ask Noah. They go to Noah. Ya Noah, ask Allah to save us from the heat of the sun. He will say, this intercession is not for me. Go to Abraham. Abraham will say the same thing. Go to Moses. Moses will say the same thing. Go to Jesus. Jesus will say the same thing. Go to Muhammad. So when they go to Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wasallam, mind you, the Muslim major sinners from all nations, not only the nation of Prophet Muhammad, this is called the biggest intercession on the day of judgment. The biggest intercession of the day of judgment is only for a person who is Muhammad. Yani the one who does it is only one person. He is Muhammad, the messenger of Allah sallallahu alayhi wasallam. So they will go to him and they will tell him, Ya Muhammad, ask Allah to save us from the heat of the sun. So the Prophet will say, Ana laha, ana laha. I am the one, I am the one. It means this intercession is only for me. And then he will prostrate to Allah. He will prostrate. So the angel will tell him, elevate your head. هيك علي راسك. Lift your head. بنقول up ولا لا؟ lift خلاص. Lift your head, O Muhammad, and ask, and you will be given. Lift your head, you are Muhammad, you are the best creation, sallallahu alayhi wasallam, and ask, and what you ask for will be given to you. So he will save the major sinners, Muslims, from the heat of the sun. Which major sinners? From all the nations, the nation of Muhammad, Adam, Isa, Musa, and everybody. So this is the Shafa'a al-Kubra, the biggest intercession on the day of judgment. So when the sun will approach, will be close to the heads of the blasphemers and the major sinners, the blasphemers will be drowned by their own sweat. They will be drowned by their own sweat, and the sweat of each one of them will stay for him. It will not go to someone else. Yani every single blasphemer will be drowned with his own sweat. His sweat will not go to someone else. As for the major sinner among the Muslims, he will not be drowned with the sweat, but the sweat will reach his knees or his waist or his chest or his mouth, but he will not be drowned in his sweat on the day of judgment. And this is when the non-Muslim will say, "Oh Allah, relieve me even by making me enter hellfire," because he thinks that hellfire is easier for him. Imagine. And what is happening to him on the day of judgment is like nothing by comparison to what will happen to him in hellfire. Is it clear? Allah yarhamuna bi rahmatihi al-wasi'a. Allah yarhamuna bi rahmatihi al-wasi'a. Also, among the wonders that will happen on the day of judgment is that any Muslim, any person who used to say about the Quran without knowledge, he will be tortured on the day of judgment. How? A lijam will be put in his mouth. The lijam is the bread هيك بريد. It's the piece of iron that we put in the mouth of the horse. ها؟ رايدل برايد برايدل برايدل بريد en français بريد فأنا قلت بريد يعني I was close. Bridle not the bride. Bridle. It's a piece of iron that you put in the horse mouth in order for you to tie a rope or something to ride it. So the bridle, a bridle of heat, a bridle of fire will be put in his mouth as a punishment for him because he used to say about the Quran with ignorance. يعني هيك بتقولوا he will speak about the Quran without knowledge. And Allahu Akbar, we have a lot of people who do that now. There is someone called Ali Al-Kayyali, someone called Ali Al-Kayyali now on YouTube. He speaks about the Quran in such a blasphemous way. يعني what can I say? يعني even الشيطان himself maybe was surprised to hear him saying what he said. وَالْعِيَاذُ بِاللَّهِ تَعَالَى. He is negating so many things about Islam and taking the Quran as his witness. أعوذ بالله. He's deviating, he's corrupting the Islamic judgments. So anyway, anyone who speaks about the Quran without knowledge, on the day of judgment he will be punished by putting a bridle of fire in his mouth because of that. So the person has to always be very careful. يعني never be shy to say I don't know. Never be shy to say I don't know. When anybody asks you a question about the religion, if you don't know the answer, as you know that this color is black, don't answer. يعني هلا أنا سبحان الله, for example, on my WhatsApp, I have lots of messages, and my most common answer is ask someone who has more knowledge than me. Ask someone who has more knowledge than me. If I'm not sure, like I'm sure that this is gray, I don't answer. Why? Because to start with, why do we teach? Why do we answer the Islamic questions? We hope for the reward, isn't that right? So I don't want to be like a candle lighting the way for you and burning itself. Do you understand? I don't want to give you an answer based on my ignorance. يعني without me knowing the answer, I give you an answer. I speak without knowledge, so I will get a major sin. Is it clear? لأنه speaking without knowledge, saying halal, haram without knowledge, this is a major sin. شو بدي بهالشغلة? It's very easy for me to say I don't know when I don't know. But here I wanna remind you of something very important. Yes, if you don't know, say لا أدري. If you don't know, say I don't know. But the question is, until when you're not gonna know? هيدا the question. You don't know, بارك الله فيك, you're safe. But the question, إلى متى لن تدري? اطلب العلم. Do you understand? Until when you are not gonna know, go and seek knowledge, so you will know. يعني try hard to increase your knowledge daily. Revise, ask, study, learn, and so on. Is it clear? And here, talking about knowledge, if you really want to be someone knowledgeable, really knowledgeable, not يعني مثل ما بيقولوا amateur يعني every year you take a dawra and a camp and that's it. No, if you really want to be knowledgeable, know that the knowledge doesn't give you a part of it, until you give it your whole. I'm going to repeat. The Islamic knowledge doesn't give you a part of it until you give it your whole. Yani you have to be really dedicated and you have give it all your time. You have to give it all your time. This is if you want to be someone who's really knowledgeable, a mountain of knowledge. To be like that, you have to dedicate all your life. This is why Sheikh Abdullah advised any father who has many children to take one among his children and give it to knowledge. يعني شو بتقول يفرغه للعلم. Dedicate him to knowledge. Sheikh Abdullah said, the brothers and the father and the family, please, there is a lot of noise. Sheikh Abdullah said, the family, the brothers, the father, they will be the one who will take care financially about him. Is it clear? This is the right way to do. Anyone who has more than one boy, let him dedicate one of his boys to knowledge. He puts him in the ma'had, in the university, and he tells him, don't worry about the dunya. When it's time, I will take care of your engagement and your marriage. I will take care about your pocket money. I will take care about your expenses. But we want in our family a sheikh. He is the sheikh of the family. This is how we should think, ya jama'ah. This is how we should think. Dedicate one of our kids for knowledge. خلاص, هذا knowledge, go. And it's not true that if he will be a sheikh or if he will be a student of knowledge, he will be poor. No. Subhanallah, يعني I have so many examples, but maybe an example you know. Our brother, for example, Mamadou, Hajj Mamadou, he came here 3 years in Alif, and then he went to Lebanon for 2 years. He's a student of knowledge. And one day he said, I was napping in order for him to study at night. He was napping 20-30 minutes afternoon, يعني. He was napping, and then the supervisor, الناظر هيك بتقول, the supervisor came and he patted him on his back. He told him, Mamadou, give me your passport. There is someone who offered you to go to pilgrimage. And now look how many rich people, they try hard to go to pilgrimage. Allah didn't will for them. Someone rich, until now he is not able to go. وهذا a student of knowledge that he has nothing. We used to send him the pocket money. انتبهنا? Give me your passport, you're gonna go to Hajj. Despite that he took this road, alhamdulillah, last time, يعني, when we had the fundraising, he was the first to say 5K. And he was a student of knowledge. So don't think if you will take this road of knowledge, that you will be someone poor. Allah yughnika bifadlihi. Allah will make you rich. Do you understand? Mind you that richness is not the richness always by monetary. Do you understand? At least you will live happy. Allah Ta'ala yuhyika hayatan tayyibah. So, if you want to be a student of knowledge, do it and rely upon Allah. Rely upon Allah. Don't worry about money. Don't worry about financial stuff. Is it clear? Now, also on the day of a judgment, the one who in this dunya, was asked about an obligatory knowledge and he didn't give it, he will be also having a bridle of fire in his mouth on the day of judgment. Meaning, let's say someone who doesn't know how to perform wudu came and asked you, how do I perform wudu? I have to pray. How do I do? So you didn't teach him and you didn't refer him to someone who will teach him. You will be on the day of judgment tortured because of that if Allah doesn't forgive you. And now, بغمق لكم شوي ولا لا? If I want to go a little bit further, nowadays, who's asking for obligatory knowledge? Who's asking about obligatory knowledge? Few people. So Sheikh Abdullah said, in our days, the one who you see accepting the advice, يعني ignorant, he doesn't know the obligatory knowledge, but he is متقبل. شو يعني متقبل? He is accepting. If you teach him, he accepts, so he will be like the one who asked you for the obligatory knowledge. Allah yarhamuna. يعني if you look at ourselves, بتقول من السالم فينا? Who's safe among us? Imagine you meet someone, let's say at Saad restaurant, or in a taxi, or on a Uber cab, and he tells you, okay, from where, brother? From Lebanon, let's say, okay, what's your name? Muhammad. I'm Muhammad too. And you start talking to him about Aqidah, and you see that he's accepting. You cannot just leave him like that. Do you understand? Because his case will be like a person who asked you to teach him the obligatory knowledge. So in this case, either you teach him by yourself, you give him your number, you say, brother, mashallah, I see that you are accepting. There is an amount of knowledge that is obligatory for you to acquire. I will be willing to give it to you. This is my number. Call me, barakallah fik. You did your part. You did your part. Or if you cannot, you refer him to someone. You tell him, brother, mashallah, I see you're accepting, and there's an obligatory amount of knowledge that you have to acquire. And this knowledge is given in the Musalla of Ahl Sunnah wal Jama'ah in Philadelphia. You give him the address. So either you teach him by yourself or you refer him to someone who will teach him. The same thing applies with your cousin, with your neighbor, with anyone who you know is accepting from you what you're giving him among the obligatory knowledge. Even if he didn't tell you explicitly, teach me. عرفتوا وين النقطة? The point is, even if he didn't tell you, teach me the obligatory knowledge, he will be like the person who told you, give me the obligatory knowledge, if he's accepting what you're giving him from the obligatory knowledge. عقيدة and so on. يعني, if you look at the matter هيك, you say that after all, it will turn to you have to teach what you took. Go and teach يا حبيبي. ما تعوف حدا. أي إنسان بيتقبل منك علم وما تستحي من حدا. شو يعني ما تعوف حدا؟ Don't exclude anyone. Don't neglect anyone. Anyone who you see accepting from you the advice, give him the obligatory knowledge. Don't be shy from anyone. If you are not going to teach him first, maybe a Wahhabi will come and teach him. Do you understand? Is it clear? It is not enough for you to just encourage him to acquire the knowledge. Because if I encourage him to acquire the knowledge and then I leave him, he will go maybe and acquire the knowledge at the wrong people. Because I neglected him. Is it clear? يعني, this is a story Sheikh Hussam himself told me. I'm not gonna say the areas, but he told me that one point of time, Sheikh Abdullah sent some of his students to an area far to teach. So the brothers went there and they taught. And then because of a certain, you know how is it in Lebanon with the war and so on. So after going to that area and encouraging the people to acquire the knowledge and make the people love to acquire the knowledge, they weren't able to continue. So those people who were encouraged by our own shuyukh didn't know where to go, so they went and acquired the knowledge with the wrong people, and some of them now are the main figures of Hizb al-Ikhwan and so on. Do you understand? So it's not teaching him for one time, بدك تعمل له follow up. Do you understand? Follow up. Sometimes you might teach someone and you see that he's receiving, he's receptive. If you don't follow up with him and he wants more knowledge because you made him love acquiring knowledge, he might go and acquire knowledge with the wrong people. This is why you have to follow up with those who you are teaching. Don't neglect them. Don't ignore them. Because if you are not going to do this, the enemies of Islam might do it, and you will regret badly. The enemies of Islam, those people who, in the name of Islam are corrupting Islam, they are very energetic. They have a very strong drive. You know why? Because on top of their enthusiasm, they have a salary. فهمت؟ those who are above them, they pay them money to go spread corruption. Is it clear? So imagine, so the fight is very tense between us and them. The fight with energy and enthusiasm. You have to double the effort to be on their level, and you have to triple the effort to exceed them. One day, 30 years ago, I used to go give a lesson in a house of some people. Let's say every Sunday at 7. خلاص, at 7, it means at 7 you fix your watch. At 7, Sheikh Jil will be knocking on the door. This is how we should be. Anyway, so one day, of course, I always go beforehand to look around, understand? Anyway, so a day I went and I saw people wearing jallabiya, white qamis, white jallabiya, 3 people. So I said, no, what's the matter? Who are they with long beards? Normally I don't see such people there. Anyway, so they looked at me, I looked at them. I went up, they told me, Sheikh Jil, good you came on time, like usual, because 10 minutes ago, 3 people came here knocking on our door, يعرضون علينا, offering us their teaching, their weekly teaching. And they want to teach that family weekly for free. شوف سبحان الله. They weren't shy to do that. They are doing it. عينك عينك, it means facing you, knowing that you know they are doing it. One day, many of them, like a small group, came to our school when we opened our school, like 25 years ago. And then they came in warning the secretary there from Al-Jam'iyya, telling her, you are working for the wrong people, those are this and that. See, they are not shy. We can do the same thing. but it depends the size of the fight in us. Like I still remember in Toronto, 4 of our brothers, teenagers, under 18, they were so pumped up to invite people to Mawlid, they went to the Wahhabi Center there. And they said, who is the biggest among you? Yani, who is your imam, ultimate imam? أتخن تخين, yani, the biggest. So they told him why. So they said, we want to speak to him. Okay. He came. He said, yes, how can I help you? They told him, this is a flyer. We invite you for the Mawlid that's going to be next week here. So he freaked out, the guy. He lost his temper. He started to scream and saying, this is bid'ah. And you know, we don't celebrate Al-Mawlid. And he lost his temper. So they told him, cool down, cool down. We know. But our sheikh said the invitation is not restricted to Muslims. Muslims and non-Muslims. So they are inviting him. This, as Harari people say, Al-Hanjama nisful qital. Al-Hanjama, the way you appear is half of the battle. If you appear small, if you appear shy, you have to be aggressive in the proper way sometimes. You have to be courageous without tahawwur. شو يعني تهور؟ يعني be courageous without being fool. Be courageous without bringing ad-da'wah something that will harm ad-da'wah. There's a difference between being courageous and being mutahawwir. Reckless. Be courageous but not reckless. Is it clear? So, هيك Subhanallah al-Azim. So we finished talking about the one who has the obligatory knowledge and was asked by someone to teach him and he didn't teach him. The day of judgment, what will happen to him? He will have a bridle of fire in his mouth. Also on the day of judgment, those people who were arrogant in this dunya, they will be on the day of judgment having the image of human beings, but the size of ants. The size of ants. People will step on them. People will crush them without them dying. Is it clear? So, the arrogant ones in this dunya, on the day of judgment will be like what? Will be having the image of a human being, but as big as an ant. People on the day of judgment will step on them, will crush them without them dying. And who is the arrogant? Arrogant is of 2 types. Arrogance is of 2 types. First, it is when you know that the other person is saying the truth, but you don't accept this truth from him just because he is, let's say, white and you're black. Or he is black and you're white. Or he's poor and you're rich. Or because you are a teacher and he is a student. Or you are from Lebanon and he's from Tunisia. Or from different class in the society. You know that he's saying the truth, but you are arrogant to accept it just because he is inferior in your point of view. He's poor, so you don't accept from him. This is arrogance. Or for example, because he is your son. I know, now he is a man. He said, when I was young, my mother was visiting our neighbor. I went with her. So my mother was saying a lie. So him as a child, subhanallah, innocent, yani, he said, no mama, this didn't happen like that. So she slapped him on his face. She told him, Ula, Ula. Yeah, when the old people speak, the young ones should shut up. What are you teaching him? As if she's teaching him to see the haram and not do anything. This is wrong. Is it clear? So even if your son will tell you, Baba, don't say Allah, say Allah, tell him, Barakallah fiqh. Thank you very much. You reminded me. I'm happy. I'm proud of you. The second type of arrogance is to look down on people. You look down on people, even if you didn't say anything, just looking at him. You know how some people look because of a fancy car, or because of money, or because of social status. They look at everybody around them as if they are nothing, you know. They act like that. This is arrogance, wal-'iyadhu billahi ta'ala. Remember this, a great person shows his greatness by the way he deals with those who are weaker than him. When you see a great Prophet Muhammad, no one is greater among the humans. How did he used to treat those people who are poor and needy and weak? With lots of compassion and mercy. This is a sign that this great person is really great. But when you see someone who has power treating those who are weaker than him or poorer than him in a bitter way or in a bad way, it shows you that this person is no good person. This person is no good person. It is so nice to be someone who is full of empathy towards the Muslims, full of mercy towards the Muslims, to care for the Muslims, to help the Muslims. MashaAllah, one more. Also on the day of judgment, the one who in this dunya was begging without a valid excuse. Yani he is rich. He has what he needs. But he was begging, asking people to give him money. On the day of judgment, he will be without having any flesh on his face. ما في لحم. He will be without any flesh on his face. يعني he won't have any flesh on his face. Why? Because they say he wasted the water of his face in this dunya by asking people for money. Do you understand? Also, Sheikh Abdullah said, and honey, be careful for this mas'ala, listen to this mas'ala. Sheikh Abdullah said that if a person is ghani, يعني he is not rich, necessarily rich in your, يعني how you think, no. He has what suffices him, but he acts as if he's poor by his looks or by his manners. He makes people think that he is someone who is in need. So the people will have empathy and mercy to him, so they will give him money. If he takes that money, he will be tortured on the day of judgment. Because this is considered among أكل أموال الناس بالباطل. He is taking the money from the people unrightfully. فهمتوا المسألة? He has what he needs. Understand? He doesn't come and tell you, Jamie, can you please give me $10? He's not begging. But he's acting in a way that makes you think that he is in need and he is worthy of being given help. So if you give him and he accepts, on the day of a judgment he will be punished if Allah doesn't forgive him. Do you understand? And this is very, very, very common. Subhanallah al-Azim. So the person has to be very, very careful about money issues. Very careful. هلا if he wants to give him a gift, this is another thing. But him acting like in need to provoke the empathy of people to give him, and they give him and he takes, أعوذ بالله, he fell into the haram. Also, on the day of judgment, the person who in this dunya used to listen stealthily, eavesdrop, the one who used to do eavesdrop in this dunya without a valid Islamic excuse on the day of judgment, al-anuk will be poured in his ear. What is al-anuk? It is the melted dew of heat. It is the melted lead. It is the melted lead. The lead will be melted by hell and it will be poured in his ear. Why did I say without an Islamic valid excuse? Because if it was an Islamic valid excuse, like for example, they were conspiring against the Muslims, so he did eavesdrop to save the Muslims from their harm, this is halal. This is halal, this is not haram. If there is no excuse, this will be a kind of spying on people. You should not do that. I tell you something, in life, sometimes people don't tell you something and it's better for you not to know. It's much better for you not to know. Don't feel bad. They are sharing a secret and they didn't include you. It's better for you not to know. Is it clear? It's better for you not to know in so many cases. Also, the one who was married to more than 2 women in this dunya, and he wasn't just towards them, he didn't show equality. شو بتقول؟ عدلة. He wasn't just between them. كيف يعني wasn't just? When you are married to more than women, of course, you know, انتبهوا, this is something halal, especially for women. This is not injustice for women, this is something halal. Allah made it halal. La ilaha illallah, Muhammad Rasulullah. We surrender. Is it clear? Even if you see that it's difficult for you, you don't have the right to dispraise or denigrate or insult this judgment. Allah made it halal. Be careful, be careful. So let's say he's married to 2, and there are lots of benefit of getting married to more than 1 woman. There is lots of benefit, lots of mercy. Lots of mercy, lots of mercy, lots of mercy. Subhanallah, Subhanallah. All the Islamic judgments have hikmah. All the Islamic judgments have hikmah. Now you know, the women exceed in number than men. If every man is satisfied with 1 woman, there will be plenty of excess. Isn't that right? I'm not gonna talk a lot, but I'm gonna tell you something. If your daughter, or if you or your daughter or your sister was among those who didn't have a man, what do you prefer for your daughter or for you? To live the rest of your life alone without a man, or to be the respected second wife of someone who's married? Of course you would wish for your daughter to be married to someone who's already married, and he will give her the respect that she owes, and she will be his wife. Do you understand? It's not something kinky. It's not something bad. La, it is a mercy. One day, a non-Muslim in prison, when I was teaching, he asked me, Tony, I told you his story. He told me, if you answer 3 questions, I'll embrace Islam. One of them was polygamy. I told him, now, Who is more in number, women or men? He said women and men. I told him, take off, subtract from the number of men who love men. You know, and take off the men who are in prison like you. So the number will be decreasing even more. And the men who are being killed in war, and they are a lot. So who is left? Few, يعني little number. And the number of women without a man will be very high. I told him, if your daughter was among those who didn't have a man, would you prefer for her to be the second wife of someone who will give her the due respect, and it will be, this is my wife and this is my wife and she has rights, or to live alone and die alone? So he said, no, of course, to be the second wife of someone. And then he took the shahada. Understand? So when you are married to a second person, but these issues, you should not use it. I don't want to say joke. You should not use it. Yani, it is silly that we see some men, when they want to nag their wife, they start to use some religious stuff in order for them to nag her. You don't fear that she says something against the religion, ya akhi? You don't fear for her religion? Why you? Some of them, what do they say? Jokingly, huh? Do this or else I'm gonna divorce you. I'll divorce you. Sure, the divorce is a play, yani. Or I'm gonna get married on you. And sometimes he says it in front of people. She doesn't have feelings, yani. Some men like that, يعني subhanallah, make some women very hurt, Sheikh. You should not use certain things in such situations. So if someone is married to more than one woman, he has to be just in other than love. Love, he cannot be just. When you have 5 kids, sometimes you love one more than the other 4. So how about a woman? How about a wife? Huh? Equal. So you have to be you have to do equality, excluding love issues. Love. يعني شو بيقولوا? He has to be equal in other than love in the heart, because it is not in his control. He might love one more than the other. We don't say you have to give them equal love. It's not in my control. How can I love this one as much as I love this one? Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam used to love some of his wives more than the others. He used to love Khadija more than many others. And this is the Prophet alayhi salatu wasalam. The person has to be equal regarding what? Regarding, for example, the obligatory spending. He has to be equal. Or the sleeping. If he sleeps here 2 nights, he has to sleep here 2 nights. Is it clear? So if someone is married to more than a woman and he's not equal, he's not fair. He's not fair between them, among them. He's not fair towards them. So on the day of judgment, what will happen? He will come as half a person. شو يعني as half a person? It means he will come as a human being, but half paralyzed. Understand? All this, one side, it will be paralyzed, not moving, and the other side moves. So this is his punishment on the day of judgment. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to grant us safety in this dunya and in the hereafter. I ask Allah to grant us to see Prophet Muhammad in the dream, sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. May Allah increase our knowledge. May Allah grant us to be pious Muslims. And may Allah grant you a happy life. May Allah bless your lives, bless your kids, bless your families. May Allah bless your rizq. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala grant you what you desire from the good, and may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala grant you to see Prophet Muhammad in your dream so many times in your life, and Allah ta'ala knows best. Every dawrah and you are successful, every dawrah and you are healthy and wealthy, inshallah. It was an honor and a pleasure to be with you in this dawrah like usual. Allahu A'lam who stays alive for next year or who dies. Anyway, take care of yourself, and we hope to meet you on the basin of Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wasallam and in paradise. نهلل ونصلي على النبي. لا إله إلا الله. لا إله إلا الله. لا إله إلا الله. اللهم صل على سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه وسلم. اللهم صل على سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه وسلم. اللهم صل على سيدنا محمد وعلى آله